April 1984. 30 feet down, off the coast of Wellfleet, Massachusetts. A diver named Barry Clifford reaches into the silt with a gloved hand and feels something curved, bronze, heavier than it should be. He brushes the sand away in slow, careful strokes, the way a man might uncover a face he is not sure he wants to see. The inscription emerges letter by letter under his thumb. The Whydah Gally, 1716. It is the first authenticated pirate shipwreck ever found in the history of the world, and it is, technically, a bell. But bells are made to be rung, and this one had been waiting 267 years to start talking. Now rewind. Same patch of black Atlantic, same coordinates. The 26th of April, 1717. You are standing on a deck that is no longer horizontal. The wind is hitting you at 70 miles an hour, sideways, and it carries something the wind shouldn't, chunks of solid water, the size of fists, that sting like buckshot when they hit your face. The mainmast above you is making a sound you have never heard a tree make. A long, tearing groan, like something alive being twisted apart at the spine. The lifeboats are already gone. They were ripped from the davits 2 hours ago, and you watch them spin off into the dark like leaves. There are 146 men on this ship. By sunrise, 2 will still be breathing. You do not yet know which 2. This is where the lie begins. Hollywood sold you a pirate. The puffy shirt, the parrot, the Jack Sparrow stagger, and the wink at the camera. That pirate is a costume. The Whydah Gally is the truth underneath it, and the truth is uglier in every direction you look. She was not built to chase Spanish galleons. She was built in a London shipyard in 1715 by a member of Parliament named Sir Humphrey Maurice, and she was built for one job: to carry chained human beings across the Atlantic and sell them in Jamaica for sugar. Her name comes from the West African slave port of Whydah. Every plank of her hull had a price tag in bodies. When Black Sam Bellamy captured her in February 1717, he didn't christen something new. He just changed the cargo. The same hold that had held 500 shackled Africans the year before was now holding 4.5 tons of gold and silver, the largest pirate treasure ever assembled in the Atlantic. The hunter became the hunted. The slave ship became the slaver of slavers. And the sea, which has no opinions, took both of them down to the same sand. Pirates love to say dead men tell no tales. The 144 men of the Whydah would prove them wrong. They just need 267 years to start. Over the next 40 minutes, you are going to descend with them, one deck at a time. You will go down into the slave hold where the ceiling is 4 feet 11 inches and the floor is wet with things you do not want named. You will stand beside Sam Bellamy on the quarterdeck, the night he chose the wrong heading. You will feel the keel touch bottom, and you will hear the sound a ship makes when it begins, very slowly, to become a coffin. The bell is still down there. Listen. Listen close, because the Whydah was not born a pirate ship. She was born guilty. London, 1715. The shipyard belongs to Sir Humphrey Morris, a Member of Parliament, a Director of the Bank of England, and one of the most prolific slave traders in English history. The kind of man who sat in church on Sunday morning and signed bills of lading for human beings on Monday afternoon. He commissioned the Whydah Gally for one purpose: to be the fastest, deadliest Guineaman on the Triangle route, 110 feet long. 3 masts, 18 iron cannons, copper-sheathed hull to keep the worms out and the speed up. She could make 13 knots in a clean wind, which made her, in 1716, one of the fastest commercial vessels alive. Pop culture wants you to picture a pirate ship as a rotted wooden tub held together by rum and superstition. Wrong. The Whydah was state-of-the-art military hardware. She had to be, because the cargo she was designed to carry sometimes tried to kill the crew. The same speed that would later make her the most feared pirate ship in the Atlantic was first engineered for one specific purpose: to outrun a slave revolt. Let that sit a moment. Her hull was shaped by fear of the people locked inside it. Now climb down with me. Ladder, hatch, lower deck. Then the second hatch, the one that leads to the place. No painting of the slave trade has ever shown you honestly. You are below the waterline. The ceiling is 4 feet 11 inches high. You cannot stand. You cannot turn. The air does not move because there is no opening for it to move through, and what passes for air is mostly other people's breath, recycled now for the 18th time. The reek is a layered thing. Tar at the top, because the planks above your head are sealed with it. Vomit beneath that, because seasickness, in a tight pack, does not have anywhere to go. Then dysentery. Then the iron and copper smell of infected wounds. And underneath all of it, very faintly, the smell of the bodies that were here last voyage and the voyage before, soaked into the wood for good. The man chained to your left has been dead for 9 hours. No one has noticed because the smell is no different than the living. He will be discovered at the morning count. Unshackled with a chisel, the iron is more valuable than he was and pitched over the side. The sharks have been following the ship for 4 weeks now. They have figured out the schedule. 500 souls in a space designed for 312. The Royal African Company called this the tight pack. The math worked. Even with mortality rates of 25%, you still made more money than packing them loose. Sugar in Jamaica. Sugar back to London. Sugar made into rum. Rum back to West Africa, traded for the next round of bodies. A ship that ran on screams and balanced its books in molasses. The Whydah completed this circuit twice before a man named Sam Bellamy decided to repurpose her. February 1717, Windward Passage. The Whydah is steaming north out of Jamaica with the richest hold of the season: gold, silver, indigo, sugar, ivory, and a cargo of Jesuits' bark worth more than most country estates. Her captain is a Welshman named Lawrence Prince. He is a competent slaver, which is to say he is good at his job and bad at his soul. He has no idea what is sitting on the horizon 2 days behind him. Black Sam Bellamy is 28 years old, Devonshire-born, a failed treasure hunter who came to the Caribbean looking for sunken Spanish gold and found, instead, that the easier route to wealth was simply to take it off the ships above the waves. He is literate, which is rare. He is charismatic, which is rarer. He has been known to deliver speeches to his prisoners, quoting political philosophy, actual sentences about the rights of common men against the tyranny of kings. His own crew calls him the Prince of Pirates, and they mean it without irony. The chase lasts 3 days. 72 hours of full sail in a freshening trade wind, the Whydah running for her life from a smaller, faster sloop called the Sultana. Here is where the universe tips its hand. A ship designed to outrun enslaved Africans cannot outrun the man coming to free what is left of them and steal what is not. Poetry in the cruelest possible draft. When Prince finally surrenders, you expect what every pirate movie has taught you to expect. Slaughter, plank walking, the whole grand guignol. None of it happens. Bellamy hands Prince the keys to his old sloop, drops 20 pounds of silver in his palm for the inconvenience, and tells him to sail home and tell people what he saw. Pirates, it turns out, were frequently more merciful than the Royal Navy that hanged them. The Navy flogged sailors for whistling on deck. Bellamy gave you a severance package. That mercy is about to cost him everything. Spoiler. Bellamy makes the Whydah his flagship. He adds 10 more cannons, 28 total now, more than a Royal Navy 5th-rate frigate. He frees the small group of Africans still aboard from Prince's previous voyage and offers them places in the crew. Equal share, equal vote, equal pay. Many accept. Why wouldn't they? On the deck of the Whydah under Bellamy, a black man got the same vote as a white man. In the Boston of 1717, he would not get one for another 248 years. The pirate ship was, by the standards of its century, the closest thing to a democracy floating on the planet. And then Bellamy did the thing that killed him. He turned the bow north. There was a reason. Her name was Maria Hallett. She was waiting for him on the bluffs of Cape Cod, in a one-room shack the locals would later say was haunted before she ever moved into it. He had promised her, 2 years before, that he would come back rich enough to make her a lady. The Whydah's rudder swung toward Massachusetts, toward a coastline that the men who sailed it called the graveyard of the Atlantic, toward a season late April that locals knew was the wrong season to be anywhere near Cape Cod in a tall ship. The trade wind was steady. The hold was heavy with gold. The Prince of Pirates was sailing home for a girl. Somewhere out ahead of him, the barometer was already beginning to fall. Pause right there. Before we step into that storm with him, I want you to answer something. Honestly, if you were one of the men chained in the Whydah's hold the year before she became a pirate ship, and 3 weeks after they sold you in Jamaica, Black Sam Bellamy busted the lock open, struck your irons off with a chisel, and offered you a vote, a share, and a chance to rob the same flags that put you down there, would you take it? Would you sign the articles and pick up a cutlass? Or would you ask to be put ashore at the next quiet port and try to start a life out of nothing? Drop it in the comments. One word is enough: pirate or port, and hit that like button while you're down there, because every like feeds the algorithm with real history instead of the cartoon version Hollywood keeps trying to sell you. We are about to walk onto the deck of a ship that has 4 hours and 12 minutes left to live. Stay with me. Stay with me. Because the next 6 weeks are the highest a pirate ever climbed in the Atlantic before falling. March 1717. Bellamy works his way up the coast, and the Whydah becomes the worst rumour in the shipping lanes. He builds a small fleet around her, the wine pinky Mary Ann, the Ann Gally, and a smaller prize called the Fisher, and turns them loose like a wolf pack on the merchant traffic running between the Caribbean and New England. The numbers get hard to believe. In a single year of operation, Bellamy and his crews capture more than 50 ships. He takes everything that floats and is worth taking: sugar, rum, indigo, naval stores. Slaver crews frequently get the same mercy he gave Captain Prince a polite robbery and a slow sloop home. Royal Navy crews, if he can catch them, get something worse. By the time he turns north for Maria Hallett, the Whydah's holds carry roughly 4.5 tons of gold and silver. In modern money, that is somewhere north of $400 million. It is the largest pirate treasure ever assembled in the Atlantic, and almost certainly the largest one we know about by name. Every ounce of it is about to disappear into a single sandbar in less than a season. Stand on her main deck a moment. Close your eyes. You can smell the coins. Not metaphorically. The bags of pieces of 8 have been opened and recounted so many times that the salt and copper stink of the silver has soaked into the planks. The teak under your boots smells like a mint. You are walking on the largest pirate fortune ever assembled, and you are about to lose every grain of it in less than 4 hours. You do not know that yet. You only know that the cook is dragging a wheel of Dutch cheese the size of a cartwheel up from the forward hold, and that there will be wine tonight. Pirates ate better than the Royal Navy. They voted on the menu, which brings up the myth that needs to die hardest. Hollywood sells Bellamy's crew as 146 bloodthirsty cutthroats who lived on rum, screaming, and stab wounds. The actual paperwork, and these men kept paperwork because they were not idiots, tells a different story. The Whydah operated under written articles. Every man signed them or he didn't sail. The articles required a democratic vote on every major decision: where to chase, when to fight, whether to spare a prize crew. Every man, regardless of colour or country, got one equal share of the take. The cook got the same cut as the captain. The boy got the same cut as the gunner. There was a written workman's compensation schedule: 600 pieces of 8 for a lost right arm, 500 for the left. The pirate ship was, in 1717, the closest thing to a labour union and a constitutional democracy floating on saltwater. Meanwhile, on the merchant ships they were boarding, sailors were being flogged for falling asleep on watch. Call them criminals if you want. They had better dental coverage than you did. The crew list reads like a United Nations recruitment poster, Designed by someone with a grudge, 146 men, 30 different nationalities, English, Welsh, Dutch, French, Portuguese, free Africans and formerly enslaved Africans, mostly from Akan and Igbo backgrounds, a handful of Spaniards, a native pilot named John Julian, a Mosquito Indian from the coast of present-day Nicaragua, who could read currents and shoals the way a city kid reads street signs, and one 9-year-old boy. His name was John King. He had been a passenger on a Jamaican trader called the Bonetta when Bellamy captured her in November of 1716. The boy watched the pirates work, listened to them talk, and decided at 9 years old that he wanted to go with them. His mother said no. He threatened to kill himself. He threatened to kill her. Eventually, he wore her down. She let him go. Whether she was a bad mother or just an honest one, nobody can say. What we know is this. In 1984, when Barry Clifford's team began bringing the Whydah back up out of the sand, the first identifiable human remain they recovered was a small leg bone, still wearing a fine silk stocking, with a child's leather shoe at the end of it. The shoe was a size that fit a 9-year-old. John King had gotten his wish. Dry note, be careful what you ask for, kid. The pirates take you. The 26th of April, 1717, off Nantucket. Bellamy captures one more prize, and it turns out to be the one that kills him. She is the Mary Ann, a small pinky out of Dublin, riding low and heavy in the swell. Her hold contains 7,000 gallons of Madeira wine bound for Boston. Bellamy splits 7 of his men off the Whydah to sail her north as part of the fleet. He gives them a clear order. Stay close. Do not get separated. Whatever you do, do not break into the cargo. You can guess what happened. The prize crew is on the Mary Ann for about 2 hours before the first barrel is opened. The Madeira goes down sweet and fortified and warm in a cold spring wind. By sundown, the 7 men on the Mary Ann are too drunk to read a compass, too drunk to reef a sail, and too drunk to keep formation. The Mary Ann falls behind in the gathering dark, which is when the sky stops behaving. The barometer on the Whydah's quarterdeck has been falling for 6 hours. Now it falls faster. Faster than any glass any man aboard has ever watched. The temperature drops 30 degrees in less than an hour. The horizon, that thin line that tells a sailor where the world ends, softens, smears, and disappears. The clouds overhead go the color of a bruise. Old hands on deck notice the gulls flying inland in long, panicked lines, low to the water. The seabirds are running. They know. The rigging starts to hum. It begins as a low note in the shrouds, a sound like a giant's breath through a comb. Within 20 minutes, it is a scream. Bellamy gives the order every captain hates to give strike sail. All hands prepare to run before the wind. The men climb. The men work fast. It does not matter. The storm reaches them before the topsails are fully reefed. A nor'easter, the Atlantic's favorite spring weapon, a counterclockwise monster fed by warm Gulf air, slamming into cold Canadian air right over the shoals of Cape Cod. By 10 p.m., the wind is steady at 70 miles an hour and gusting to 90. The waves stop being waves. They become moving walls. 30 feet, then 40. The Whydah fast, well-built, 28 cannons and copper-clad handles like a barrel in a flooded street. And here is the part Bellamy never had a chance to fix. He has never sailed these waters. There is no lighthouse on Cape Cod yet. There will not be one for another 79 years. The shoals here move with every tide. The charts he has are decorative at best. John Julian, his pilot, knows the coast, but not in a hurricane at night. You are on the quarterdeck. The wheel is fighting the helmsman so hard it takes 3 men to hold it. The mainmast above you is making that long, tearing sound a tree makes when it is being twisted apart at the spine. The rain is coming sideways and the spray is going up. Somewhere through the dark, much too close, you can hear surf. Not the rhythmic surf of a deep water swell, the wrong kind, the shallow kind. Then you feel it. A long, slow, scraping shudder runs up through the keel, through the deck, through the boots on your feet. up into your knees, your hips, your jaw. It is not a thud. It is a wooden scream. 3 feet of solid English oak being pressed sideways into a Cape Cod sandbar at 7 knots, and announcing the fact the richest pirate ship in history has just stopped being a ship, and the storm is only 40 minutes in. 40 minutes. That is how long Sam Bellamy has been the captain of a building. The Whydah hits the sandbar at roughly midnight on the 27th of April, 1717. She is 500 feet off Marconi Beach in what is now the Cape Cod National Seashore. 500 feet. That is 1.5 football fields. You can throw a baseball that far. None of the men on board are going to throw anything that far tonight because the water between them and the beach is a kill zone. The mainmast comes down inside 90 seconds. 3 tons of pine and rope and tar and canvas ripping out of its step like a tooth, slamming sideways across the deck. The men beneath it never know what hit them, which, in the math of bad deaths, is the best version of it any of them got. The cannons are next. 28 iron pieces, each one a 3,000-pound paperweight, break loose from their lashings as the deck tilts past 40 degrees. They start rolling. A loose cannon, in the original literal sense, is exactly what you think it is. An iron grinder turning living men into dark smears on the planking before going overboard. Inside 2 minutes, the Whyda's main deck is no longer a deck. It is a slaughterhouse with weather. You are in the water now. Whether you jumped or whether the ship spit you out, the result is the same. The Atlantic in late April off Cape Cod runs at about 42 degrees Fahrenheit. You have approximately 15 minutes before your hands stop working. After that, 20 more minutes before your brain stops giving useful instructions to the rest of you. The waves are 30 feet from trough to crest, which means every wave drives you down into the sand, scrapes you sideways across broken timber and ripped sailcloth, and spits you back out, usually closer to nothing. The shore is 500 feet away. It might as well be on the moon. Within 10 minutes of the grounding, the Whydah rolls onto her port side and her hull splits along the keel. 3 centuries of marine archaeology have confirmed the next sentence with mathematical certainty. Every single bag of coin in her hold spills into the surf and is sucked into the wet sand within about an hour. The 4.5 tons of gold and silver Bellamy's entire career, the largest pirate hoard in the Atlantic, does not float. It goes down. To this day, more of the Whydah's treasure remains buried in that beach than has ever been recovered. People in flip-flops walk over it every July. Inside the broken hull, the men who didn't make it topside are dying the worst possible deaths. They are pinned by shifting cargo. They are trapped behind jammed hatches that warped in the impact. They are drowning in the dark while the surface is 12 feet above their heads and entirely out of reach. Their bodies will wash up on Cape Cod for the next 3 weeks, along with shoes, splinters, pewter mugs, a Bible, a wooden leg, and the Whydah's bronze bell. And here is where the worst myth of all gets put down. Hollywood loves the shipwreck where the survivors eat each other, the Donner Party at sea. The reality is uglier, because the sea does the eating long before any human gets hungry. By dawn on April 27, the lobsters and crabs of Cape Cod are already working on the bodies on the beach. By noon, the gulls have joined in, and by mid-afternoon, and this part is documented, not invented, the locals show up. The Cape Cod coast in 1717 is a poor place. The men and women who comb that beach the morning after the storm are not coming to bury the dead. They are coming to strip them. Buttons, buckles, rings, bit knews. Anything stitched, sewn, or bolted onto a corpse comes off. Gold teeth get pried out with a marlinspike. There are documented depositions, you can read them, in the Massachusetts archives of locals fighting each other over which body was theirs to harvest. The Reverend Cotton Mather of Boston, who would soon interview the surviving pirates personally before sending them to the gallows, wrote in his journal that the wreckers on the Cape had used the dead with a savagery exceeding that of the pirates themselves. The pirates plundered ships. The locals plundered the pirates. Everyone, it turned out, was in the same business. Out of 146 men on the Whydah that night, 2 reached the beach alive. Just 2. A 1.4% survival rate. Their names matter. The first is Thomas Davis, a Welsh ship's carpenter who had been kidnapped off a captured merchant ship and forced into Bellamy's crew against his will. He gets tried in Boston, proves coercion, and walks free. The second is John Julian, the Mosquito Indian pilot, the same man who had steered the Whydah up the coast. He is not tried, he is sold. Massachusetts in 1717 has no problem with selling a non-white man into slavery without a courtroom. 16 years later, in 1733, John Julian tries to escape his enslaver. He is caught. He is beaten to death. The Atlantic spared 2 men that night. American justice killed one of them at its leisure. The other 7 who lived were the drunks on the Mary Ann, the prize crew that broke into the Madeira and fell behind in the storm. Their wine ship grounded near Easton. The locals there were friendlier than the ones at Marconi Beach. Friendly enough to feed the pirates, get them sobered up, and then hand them to the sheriff. They are taken to Boston, tried in front of an admiralty court, and on the 15th of November, 1717, 6 of them are hanged on a gibbet built over Boston Harbor below the high tide line. The location is intentional. The Crown wants the bodies to swing in salt water for 3 tides before they come down, as a message to any sailor watching from any inbound ship. Cotton Mather personally extracts each man's confession. He finds the theological content of their final hours absolutely fascinating. He writes it up at length. He stands in the front row at the execution and does not look away. Up on the bluffs of Wellfleet, a young woman named Maria Hallett, if she ever existed at all, which historians still argue about, is supposedly walking the dunes. Locals would name her the Witch of Wellfleet. They would say that on certain nights of certain Aprils, with a certain kind of wind, you could hear her on the cliffs calling a man's name in the dark. Whether she was real or invented by sailors who needed someone to grieve the Whyda's men, no one knows. The wind on those bluffs still sounds, on the right night, like a woman calling out for someone who is not coming home. The wreck sat in the sand for 267 years. Treasure hunters tried for it in every generation. The currents moved the bar moved the wreck. The Cape ate them all. Until one cold green afternoon in 1984, when a 38-year-old salvager named Barry Clifford lowered himself 30 feet down into the silt off Marconi Beach. He swept his hand across the bottom. He felt something curved, bronze, heavier than it should be. And the Whydah, after almost 3 centuries of silence, got ready to speak. Quick check-in. If you're still with me this far, do me one favor. Hit that like button. Right now. 15 seconds. Because we are about to enter the darkest part of this story. And it isn't the storm, and it isn't the gallows. It's what is still down there, under the sand, beneath the feet of the swimmers, at Marconi Beach this summer. Stay close. 267 years. That is how long it took for the Whydah to find a hand willing to listen. Barry Clifford brought the bell up in 1984. He brought up cannons. He brought up coins. He brought up a small leather shoe with a child's leg bone still inside the silk stocking, the only 9-year-old pirate the Atlantic ever recorded, finally back on dry ground 3 centuries after he asked his mother for permission to die at sea. But here is the part of the story the gift shops on Cape Cod do not put on a t-shirt. Of the 4.5 tons of gold and silver that went into the sand that night in 1717, less than 10% has ever been recovered. Less than 10%. The rest is still down there. Pieces of 8, gold ingots, silver bars stamped with the seals of long-dead kings, all of it sitting 6 to 20 feet beneath the surf line at Marconi Beach, mixed with the bones of 144 men and 1 boy. Every summer, families lay their towels on top of it. Children build sandcastles over it. Surfers paddle past it without knowing. The largest pirate horde in the history of the Atlantic Ocean is a public beach in Massachusetts that you can drive to in a minivan. That is the true cost of the romance. Hollywood sold you the pirate as a swashbuckler with a wink and a parrot. The truth is, a slave ship rebuilt into a democracy that ran for 1 year, killed 144 of its own citizens in a single night, and got eaten by the same coast it was sailing home to. The puffy shirt, the peg leg, the yo-ho-ho. All of it was invented to make the bones easier to step on. Every time we turn the pirate into a cartoon, we step over John King's leg one more time. We step over John Julian's beating. We step over the man chained beside you in the hold, the one who died 9 hours before anyone noticed. The bell in the museum. The coin in the display case. They are not artifacts, they are receipts. You came to this video looking for pirates. You found a graveyard. The bell beneath the sand has not stopped ringing. You just have to put your ear to the water to hear it. And the next time you stand on a beach in late April with a north wind coming off the Atlantic, listen for it. It has 144 names left to say. It is in no hurry. If you made it all the way down here, do something for the dead. Drop the word survived in the comments. One word, all caps. So we know you walked off the beach with Thomas Davis and not into the sand with the rest of them. Then hit subscribe. Because next week on Grim Reality, we are going somewhere darker, somewhere colder, and somewhere the bodies are still arguing about which century they belong to. The sea keeps its dead. We just tell you their names,